You're going to have a separable differential equation. You might think it's logistic, and it's not if they ask you to solve it. So if they solve it, it's got to be a product of two functions. That's what this is saying right here. It's not going to be f of y plus g of x. It's going to be multiplying. Okay, mostly we're just going to get into this and do some problems. And we're going to do some easy things. So when I separate the variables, I'll multiply through by dx. Oh, I forgot to define this, but you guys know what? Very good. Eric remembers it. Definition of a differential equation is an equation involving derivatives. And this is important, whose solution is a function. Because when you take the exam and they ask you to solve the differential equation, that's the last point, Zach. Now, sometimes the last point's not worth struggling with, because sometimes it's so hard algebraically to solve for y that you may just say, forget it, I'm not going to worry about that point. You got all the other points, it's great. I wouldn't spend a lot of time. Okay, so if we separate, first I multiply by dx, and then I want the y's on one side and the x's on the other. Okay, Nick? If you don't separate your differential equations, you're going to get 0 out of 5. We don't even read anything. I kind of like those because they're easy to grade. So we are going to divide by f of y because I have y's on the left side and I have the x's. I should have the x's on the right side. It doesn't really matter. Whoops. It does matter if I write it correctly, though. So if I divide this side by f of y, this is going to be divided by f of y. So I'm going to get dy over f of y is equal to g of x dx. I think this is easy. But you'd be surprised at how many, I've always been grading a differential equation. You'd be surprised at how many students don't separate them. You can't mix them up. And we've never done a problem where you've had x's and y's on the same side. You always separate them, and then you can integrate. When you solve a differential equation, well, you first find the general solution. Actually, I'm not going to do that. If we're asked for a particular solution, we will find the C value right away. I've learned over the years that's the best way to do it. Now, you have some steps on your handout that I don't have on my slide for some reason. But we can do this. Okay, so let's look at this on the back side. You have the steps on the front, but the back side is this differential equation. So the first thing you do is you separate the variables. And if you don't separate them, it's just wrong. So for each one of these steps is a point, okay? This is the easiest thing you can prepare for. Okay, Michael? So I have dy dx is equal to x squared y. So I'm going to multiply by dx. See, the differential is so important because it tells you what variable you want. And I don't want which one here? I don't want the y. I've got x's on the right and y's on the left. And I do mine the same every single time. Then it's, those who like to memorize, this is the way you memorize. So then you divide both sides by y. Okay, I now have 1 point. I've earned a point. Yes. Okay. Step 2. Integrate both sides. If they give you a problem and you say, I can't do that, then you know you're making a mistake. They're going to give you a separable differential equation. We're going to do the parachute problem. Okay, so we're going to integrate. Do you recognize the left side? Now, this is an easy one. It's the natural log of the absolute value of y. Yeah, I think you did say it wrong. But you were close. No, it's the log of the absolute value of y. Thank you. We aren't there yet. We're going to integrate the right side now. What's the antiderivative of x squared? X cubed over 3. Okay, you get a point for this right now. Now, you would have to get both of these right to get the point, because this right one's easy. The left one's not so easy. Sometimes they might give you, Eric, shh. Sometimes they might give you a point for each side. It just depends. If it's more complicated, yes. And then, like somebody said, we have to add this arbitrary constant. If you do it later, you won't get any points. It has to be now. You need your plus C now. Don't forget the Bohemian Rhapsody when they sang plus C. Remember that? Oh, I'll play it. No, it doesn't matter. Because this is a number here, and it's a number there. We're just going to put them all on one side. You can, but you're going to have to find C. Okay. Now, add C. I would just do it on one side. Without that, you're done. If you add the C in later, we don't care. We don't look at it. Yeah, we're going to do an AP question. Okay, you guys? Not yet. Not yet. Guys, don't make me change the order here because I've done this for 20 years. I figured out the best way to do it is this way because it works every time. Okay, so you get your point for adding C, and then you get a point for substituting in the particular equation. In this case, it didn't have one. Let's put it through 0, 1. Is that going to work? Yes. Actually, let's put it through 0, 2. Why can't I do 0, 2? I know, but let's put a point in because you're going to get a point. Okay, guys. Then you get a point for trying to find the C. So for substituting the point in correctly, okay, you have to have the X in the right spot. You get another point. And the fifth point is for solving for Y. So you get the bulk of your points with very little work. Okay, so I made up a point just so we could practice with that. I picked 0, 2. I picked 0, 2 on purpose as opposed to 0, 1. So it's the natural log of 2 equals 0 cubed over 3 plus C. So what's C equal to? The log of 2. Okay? They will give you a point. This is a very generic one. This is not in context. It'll be in some sort of context, like the waste problem. Right, I had to do that. Okay, so here's what you have. You have the natural log of the absolute value of Y equals x cubed over 3 plus the natural log of 2. I need to solve for Y. How am I going to do that? Exponentiate each side. Okay, you guys in the back? It's e to this power, and it's e to that side. So sides. Can I make it e to the x cubed over 3 plus e to the log of 2? No. I saw a lot of that. Besides that, we don't care if you simplify. So don't. I mean, we will, so you can see what the answer is going to look like. This is the absolute value of Y is equal to, and that's e to the x cubed over 3 plus the natural log of 2. That stays in the exponent. We can simplify it. Absolute value, that's another issue. So this is going to give me Y is equal to the positive one of these, e to the x cubed over 3 plus the natural log of 2, or Y is equal to e to the x cubed over 3 plus the log of 2, and I forgot to put my minus sign out in front. Okay? You get two solutions, but only one's going to work because it goes to the point 0, 2. which equation can I put this into to make this true? Now, you guys, you really have to pay attention on this. I'm going to stop because there's a lot of conversations going on. This is the hardest part right here. You have to look at this point and you have to put it into both equations and take the one that makes it true. And this one won't be true because y is 2 is equal to negative e to the 0 plus the log of 2. What's e to the log of 2? It's 2. So they're saying in this one 2 is equal to negative 2, which doesn't happen. So it's going to be this one. Now, do you want to go ahead and simplify it? Because we can. Now, I would not simplify it on the exam. I would leave it because if I simplify it wrong, I lose the point. But for right now, let's just simplify it so you know what it should be. It's x cubed over 3. This is times e to the log of 2. It's never, ever, okay, guys? It's never, ever going to be plus. Now, that's been on the multiple choice part of the exam. There are 10 questions on the exam that they use every year. That's always been it. Not exactly the same question, but the same concept. And one of the choices is going to be a plus sign here. It's never, never going to be plus anything when you're with an exponential function. It's times. It is not a polynomial. Polynomials, when you add the plus c, does shift it vertically. Exponentials doesn't work that way. So be careful with that. Okay, Ellen? So this is y equals e to the x cubed over 3 times, what's that? E to the log of 2 is just 2. Okay, we're going to do the parachute problem. You have that problem. Oh, I handed it out. So let's do this problem. Yes, here's, okay, you guys, here is the problem. Okay, Nick? Here is the problem with the FRQs. And this is not bad, actually, compared to some of the other ones, is there's a lot of English in there. And so you may know what to do, but you don't understand the directions. Okay, we have a skydiver. And there's the differential equation. You know that the initial condition at t equals 0 is at negative 50. It tells you to use separation of variables. And I told you the only way you can separate is if it's multiplication. So can you make that differential equation multiplication? What do you mean negative 1? I wouldn't do a negative 1. I would do the biggest common factor. Because if I multiply through by dt, I'm going to get this. Now, the other reason why I'm going to teach this is I want to leave the constants on the right. I don't want them on the left. You can, but it's harder. Factor out a negative 2, and I'm left with v plus 16. Now you can maybe see that I have to get rid of the v plus 16. And I remember on the waste problem, students came out of the exam saying, there's no t. Well, so what if there's no t? There's no t in this either. Who cares? They're all the same. Actually, what this is this is dp dt is equal to negative 2, and it's p plus 16. It's the exponential growth model. It's dp dt is equal to p. It's the same thing, except it's shifted. That's all. So I'm going to divide by v plus 16. Now, some of you will divide by negative 2v minus 32. You can. It's just harder to integrate. So it's easier to do this. Even I think I get it wrong when I do that, because you got to keep the chain rule in mind. So we have this. dv over v plus 16 equals negative 2 dt. And now what? I got 1 point, because I separated them. And that's exactly what I do when I'm grading the exams. I have a notepad, scratch paper, and I put the tick mark for the point. Now what do we do? Integrate. Now I'm going to pull that through there because I can. What if I what? It doesn't matter. It's still going to be the same answer. Sam, what am I going to get on the left side? Sometimes you don't need the absolute value, and sometimes you do. Always put it in. So it's -2 times what? C. Okay, we just got 2 points there. I have 1 point right now. And then when I put in the plus C, I get the next point. And you're right, you could solve for V right away, but you get the point for trying to find C. So let's just do that. Let's not solve. And I know it went through what, 0? And why is that negative? This is a velocity. It has direction. You're jumping out of the plane. You're falling. Velocity is negative. Okay, so let's put that in. Put them in the right place. Because if I put them in the wrong place, you don't get the value. So it's the natural log of, what's V? -50. Equals -2 times 0 plus C. So C equals the log of, would you say 34? What's the absolute value, though? So it's 34. And why do we have to have absolute value? Because you can't take the log of a -34. Can't do it. Okay, so we're going to put this right in here, and we are now to 4 points. Not bad. 4 points out of 9, we haven't solved for this. Now this one, I think they fixed the problems a little bit better now. Because I don't think you can really answer the rest if you don't solve this equation correctly. So it's the log of, no, it's V plus 16. You have to substitute the -50 plus 16 in here. Yes, it is. That's right. When t is 0, velocity is -50. Equals -2t plus the log of 34. Okay, now what do we do? E. To the side. You can't ever distribute that. You'd like to, but it would be wrong. So this I get the absolute value of V plus 16 equals e to the -2t plus the log of 34. And I'm supposed to find V, I believe. Yes, that's part A. We're not done, are we? So I said this is worth a single point. It's a lot of work. So you get 2 equations. You get the positive one, or you get the negative one. Don't assume that the negative one is not going to work. Negative e to the -2t plus 34. Do you want to try it right now before you solve for V? The negative one is the one that's going to work because it went through 0, -50. So when you put in your -50 here, this ends up being -34. And on the right side, you're going to put in 0 for t, so that's equal to -e to the 34, natural log of 34. I lost my natural log there, sorry. That would cost me a point. It's it used to not be a copy error, it was not a point, but it is now. No, it's ln of 34. Because you can't take the log of a -34. And are those equal now? Yes. That looks like a negative. I don't want that to look like a negative. Okay, so we want this one. V plus 16, I'm not done, equals -e to the -2t plus the log of 34. Solve for V, and V is equal to -16 minus this. There it is. A lot of students, because I've always graded this problem. Every year I've graded a problem like this. And I think they've had 3 in a row, almost identical. But yeah, they were. They all involve logs. And every year students will take that line and then bring plus log of 34 down, which is wrong. And then I got to take the point back. I hate that. I want to give all 9s. Okay, what's the next part of the question? We got 5 points. We're right. How do you what? Well, we're going to do that next. Okay, guys? Have you finished the problem yet? No, we're not done. What's the question? Oh, I wish. It says the terminal velocity is defined as the limit as t goes to infinity. So if you don't solve for v correctly, I don't know if you can get this point. This was very easy to grade. Students just didn't do it. Here. Nope, they just didn't do it. They looked at it and said, I don't know how to do it. But this problem has been repeated over and over. The waste problem, the bird problem, and then there was another one, I can't remember what it was, that I can just think off the top of my head. Find the terminal velocity of the sky at average to the nearest foot per second. So it's the limit as t goes to positive infinity. So I'm just going to take the limit of this. So it's the limit of v as t goes to infinity. What did you guys find out it was, Eric? What is the answer here? You haven't done this, have you? Now, when I don't know what to do, if I don't know what to do, I'm going to put in a number. Why don't we put in 100? So it's negative 16, guys, minus e to the negative 200. That's just a minor little detail there. What happens to this? That's really 1 over e to the positive 200. And what's that going to? That's 0. So the answer is negative 16. Why is it negative? Because you're going down. I think that was only 1 point. So we had 5 up here, 1 at 6. And then it says, it is safe to land when her speed, not her velocity, but her speed equals 20 feet per second. At what time does she reach this speed? Okay. Hey, guys. I want to know how long it takes her to get there. This was a calculator problem, by the way. Her speed is 20. What do I put in for v? No? It's the velocity. What's her velocity? No, it isn't. It's not 20. Her speed is 20. She's falling. What's her velocity? You know how many got that right? Not very many. So negative 20 is equal to negative 16 minus e to the negative, get that out of my way, e to the negative 2t plus the log of 34. I believe you get a point for that. Yes. Yes, question, Andrew. Shh, guys. I gotta sit and think about that one because I asked that same question, and I have an answer. And I have to think about that. Okay, let's solve this. No, you had to say negative 20 because that's the velocity. There's no absolute value in that equation. Nope. So I'm going to add 16 to both sides. So I'm going to get negative 4 equals negative e. Okay, what happened? Pardon? B was up here. Negative 16, where is it? Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. I don't like the negatives because they'll go away. So 4 equals e to the negative 2t plus the log of 34. How do you solve for t? Take the log of both sides. Eric, what's wrong? So log of 4 is equal to negative 2t plus the log of 34. I want to solve for t, so I'm going to subtract that. So it's the log of 4 minus the log of 34 equals negative 2t, and we will divide by negative 2. We probably did it last year. So this is the log of 4 over 34. And you know the logs of fractions are negative numbers. Yes or no? It says it's safe to land when our speed is 20 feet per second. I know. I keep reading it that way too. I don't think I did the other one wrong. Okay, we're not done. No. Let's take this one out. Let's do the wolf population. This is a salmon colored one. Sure I did that right. And the answers, even to 97, are online. Oh, maybe not. No, I think they are. The wolf one. Because how many times have I seen this problem? Just about every year. So when you know it's going to be easy like that, then do it. What do you think the chances of us getting it earlier is? Not very good. Snow's supposed to taper off, but then it's going to start snowing again tonight. Yeah, I know. Okay. Do you guys have this one? Try the wolf one. First thing, you have to write the differential equation. Yeah, that's this orange one. Try the wolf one. Let's write down the differential equation. Do you need a copy? You should have it. You can't even start it unless you have the differential equation. P represents the number of wolves in population at time t years. The population is increasing at a rate. This is the wolf problem. The population increases at a rate proportional to, that means it's going to be some number multiplying 800 minus P. It's still the same thing. I mean, you could multiply that out. It's exactly the same as the parachute problem. Different numbers. I want to find P in terms of T and K. So you're going to multiply by dt. That is not the carrying capacity. It's a little k. That's the growth factor. Now, what are you going to do? It says that the population is growing, which means it's a derivative, at a rate directly proportional to. So if this number increases, that number increases. So it's a multiplier, k times that. Do you need a copy? I'm not done with that one. What do you do next? Divide by what? You divide by 800 minus P. Be careful when you integrate this one. Yeah, I think you probably would. This one's not easy. This was the very first one. It is not this problem. But the very first year I graded, it was a lot problem just like it. Did they do it 2 years? I think they did it in 2012 and 2010. So you get dp over this, but let's see if you can integrate this right. It's the same as this equation, dp dt equals k times p. It's the same thing. You can do it tomorrow. It doesn't really matter whose pen. Did you guys get it? Yeah, so it's not a big deal. What's the antiderivative of that thing? You know what? If you need a u substitution, use one. Is that correct? Hey guys, Eric, is that correct? Yes. No, what's missing here? A negative. Because the chain rule, if I take the derivative of 800 minus p, it gives me a negative 1. If you do the u substitution, it's easier. If you let u equal 800 minus p, then du is equal to negative dp. So it's because of the chain rule right in there, because of that negative sign. And can you solve that for p? Now, can I distribute that negative into that log? If I have 2 times the log of 3, is that equal to the log of 2 times 3? Hey guys over there, I've graded this twice. This exact concept, twice I've graded in 3 years. Good chance you might see it again. Can I bring the 2 inside there? No. What is that equal to? It's ln of 3 squared. Well, easier than that would be to just divide this by the negative 1 rather than doing reciprocals. So if I divide this by negative 1, I'm going to keep the c there because some of you freak out if I change it. What? So it's the log of absolute value of 800 minus p equals negative kt minus c. Okay, now what do we do? Now I can do what I want to do. I don't have it this time. Oh, you're right. I would like to plug that in. I could have solved for p directly, but that's harder. It's just harder to deal with. You have to really know your logs better. Don't forget your sheet. It's on the floor. Equals negative k times 0 minus c. So this is the log of 300 equals minus c. So c equals negative log of 300. Okay. So putting this back in here, it's the log of 800 minus p equals negative k times t, and it's minus c, so it's plus the log of 300. Okay, Eric, do you have this done? And don't forget to clean up. Now what do I do? Okay, guys? T and K you're going to have. E, no? E. It says solve for the population in terms of K and T. So I'm going to get, what is that going to give me? That's going to give me the absolute value of 800 minus P, which is equal to e to the negative kt plus the log of 300. Do you want to simplify that right side or not? Or just leave it? Just leave it. Okay. So now you're going to get 2 possibilities. 800 minus p is equal to e to the negative kt plus the log of 300. Or 800 minus p is equal to negative e to the minus kt. Whoops. plus the log of 300. Now, which one's going to work? It went through the point, what, 0, 500? It's the positive one, I think. Put in 0, 500. That's going to give you 300 equals e to the log of 300. Yes. But we're not done. We still have to solve for p. That's not, I mean, it's not hard, but it's lengthy. E to the minus kt plus the log of 300. Okay, so we're going to subtract 800 from both sides. It's just a lot of bookkeeping. Minus p equals negative 800 plus e to the minus kt plus the log of 300. Then divide by the negative sign. And if you think about it, this makes sense. The wolf population, is it growing? Yeah, it's growing, isn't it? Okay, how do you do B? Sure we do. It goes, this differential equation, this solution goes to that point, 700. Oh yeah. Put 700 here, equals 800 minus e to the minus k times 2 plus the log of 300. So minus 100 equals minus e to the negative 2k plus the log of 300. Get rid of the negatives and log both sides. So log of 100 equals negative 2k plus the log of 300. I logged both sides. So the log of e to this thing gives me just this piece right here. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to subtract that. So it's the log of 100 minus the log of 300. That's the log of 1/3. That's a negative number. That is a negative number. Guys, I haven't dismissed you yet. Then divide by negative 2. So k is a positive number. This might be a calculator problem. I don't know. Your job is going to be to finish that up. Still not time to go. Okay? Work on differential equations tonight. We're going to come back and do more tomorrow.